So now let's give a round of applause to invite Miss Audrey Tan.
Hello everybody. Hi. It's a privilege to be here. Slightly nervous, just sharing, as with all the other speakers. Here today to share a little bit about, my journey. Yeah, I'm game. What's next? And it's more sharing than anything else. So I just hope all of you will enjoy, and hopefully it will trigger some questions and some of your own reflections as well at the same time. So this is me when I was about 7. And when I look at this picture, I kind of think back when I was little and realize how a child I am. And the funny thing is, as I look back today, me and my brothers used to play pretend a lot. So we would even kind of set up our own shop at home. We have our own currency, and we would, trade goods and services. I would cycle around the house, and then we'll play pretend. And the funny thing was, we used to also create our own currencies, and we tore paper money, and we played pretend with that paper money. And it's funny how it has evolved, which I'll share a little bit about how that has seeded some of the work that I'm doing today. So my journey started at NUS. I went to the local college here, and I was very fortunate to have participated in a program. And this program took me to San Francisco in the West Coast in America. And I had the opportunity to go to Stanford University. Yes, very, very privileged, and a lot of my education really began when I was there in such a different environment. It was the first time that I became very uncomfortable in an environment, and I'll share, something that happened before I went to San Francisco. And so as part of the program, you're meant to take classes in Stanford University and intern with a high-tech startup. So all of us had to find, our own internship companies. And what happened at that time was I was one of the first few to be placed in a company to work there. And a week before, I think about 2 weeks before I left for San Francisco, I had a phone call. And I was like, okay, who's this person who's, calling me? And it turns out that it was actually my coordinator of the program. And she said to me in that one morning, I remember, she said, Audrey, I don't have very good news for you. And I was like, okay, what's that news, right? And it turned out that she said, Audrey, your company, whom you were meant to be placed with, they can't hire you anymore. They can't hire you anymore. And I was like, what do you mean they can't hire me anymore? I'm set to go to San Francisco, right? And she said, well, the company had not received funding, and they cannot process your internship at that time. And when I heard the news, I was really, really devastated, because I had been all set, right? All the plans have been set. The journey has been set. I was meant to go, and here I am, wasn't able to go. And honestly, that was one moment in my life that I felt so terrible. I felt absolutely terrible, that I was like, wow, is my dream of going to San Francisco going to be, washed away just like that? And I guess perhaps, it's a blessing in disguise, having now journeyed through, and I'll kind of tell you why as well. I was very, very fortunate to have met Min, the lady in the middle. She's my co-founder today of Playmula. And what happened was, she and another friend both had already had their placements at Quick.com, this company that does live video streaming. And what she did immediately when she heard my news was that she emailed, the CEO at that time, and she said, can you actually hire another intern? And they already had 3 interns at that company, so adding one more would have been quite a stretch. But, I was very, 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 very fortunate at that time when the CEO, the gentleman over there, and the gentleman on my right, on my left in the picture, they were like, yeah, sure, we would take her on. And I think it's funny because sometimes there's always a silver lining in every negative situation. That process of finding the next internship company took me about, 3 weeks to 4 weeks. So it was 4 months of waiting, of really waiting. And what happened was, it was then that I met my co-founder, Min, on this journey to start this company, Playmula. And so, these are my bosses, I mean, the funny thing that happened was I never knew that I would meet such amazing people. I mean, they came for my graduation party, and these are amazing people who have sold companies, who have done a lot in their lives, and they also know how to kind of have fun at the same time. So I learned, that in life, we can choose what we want to do, and oftentimes it takes time, to discover what you want to do. And this is the journey that I started with Playmula, where it was back in 2008 when I was in California that I saw the financial crisis. That was when the big recession actually happened. And I went into American homes at that time and realized that, we were not taught the money lessons at home or sometimes in school. And it kind of kick-started this journey to then discover what money meant to me as a young person. And it was the first time that I was managing my own paycheck. So when you grow up, you manage your own allowance, your own salary. It was the first time that I had to pay bills. It's the first time that I had to, kind of budget. And I never knew how to do that much before. And going into, kind of the American homes made me realize that I was not the only person who struggled with these issues around money. And it gave me the opportunity to discover what we could do in the world. So Min and I, embarked on a journey, and we started this company, Playmula. And we began the journey, designing for children, because we believe that when children are young, like yourselves, you could learn the good values around money, and it's habits that get created through life. Sometimes, as adults, we would have already created some of these habits, and we may not know how to undo these habits. And so what we do in the company is we create games. So we design fun experiences for kids to play, and to, at the same time, make decisions around money, and to set real saving goals, to even give money to charity. So learning different elements around money, but kind of tailored in a fun way. So that kind of started my journey in 2010, after I graduated from school, and then started the company. And I was very blessed to meet very good people along the way, and this was something very unexpected. So when you're sitting here right now, I was probably in your shoes when, you guys are like, how old are you guys? 11, 12, 10, yeah. At 10, 11, 12, I never imagined that I'll be standing here talking to you guys, and I guess as children sometimes we don't really imagine, and sometimes I myself haven't really imagined, what I can do, right, in the world. And this was my journey when I went to San Francisco and I met the first Singaporean who worked on Gmail. So this guy is Chat Meng Tan. He's a Singaporean. He's now staying in Mountain View in California. So I met amazing people like that. And honestly, to be very honest with you, I never imagined that I'll meet people like that. And what he did, which was out of his generosity, was he gave us a check. He gave us a check. And for him, his check for us was to start this company and to seed it. And his mission was saving the world. So it's really uncanny that, he wrote something like that. But interesting in my journey, to have met amazing people like that who kind of seeded and supported me through the journey. And, I'll share a little bit about some of the work that we have done, that I'm doing as well, in some of the other parts of the world, where I had the opportunity to visit some of the children in Indonesia. And this was one of the first times that I got to meet the poorest of poor children in Indonesia. And I found out that, this was a micro school. So a micro school is just, a small school that's not formalized into the learning curriculum in the school. These children actually live in the slums. And very, very unfortunately, they beg on the streets as well to get money. So it was funny because, being a Singaporean, we're so fortunate, we're so blessed with everything that we want. We have access to education that these children don't necessarily have. And that's something that I, as a young person, took for granted as well. For us, we don't even think whether we will have education, right? We're just in the system, and we are in the schools and in the classrooms learning what we can learn. Whereas these children, they have to make trade-offs where it's like, if I come to school, I cannot go and work. And if I cannot work, there's no money at home, there is no food on the table. So these are the kind of challenges that the kids, live with. And when I first met them and I was invited to the school to visit them, I really was very humbled that I asked myself, what do I know about poor children? I live in Singapore, I don't really hang around a lot with poor children. What do I know about what to teach them, So one thing that made me pause and reflect was this, that if there was only one message that I would teach, or impart or share with these children, what might that be? And I thought for a long, long time, and then I realized if there's only one thing, perhaps it's the concept of needs and wants. As simple as, what do I need and what do I want? And we had a game on the iPad called Coin Catcher that you can check out, that I thought, okay, perhaps this is one of the basic lessons that I could share with the kids that I meet. And when I finally kind of went to meet the children, I asked a very basic question. I asked the kids, with the money that you have, what do you do with that money? And the responses that I got back was like, that we would buy crackers, that we would buy sweets, that we'll buy things that we love to eat. And when I heard that from the kids, I was very surprised in that moment that the children were no different from me when I was a kid. And it was a very big moment of awakening for me when I realized that poor or rich, young or old, the motivations as human beings were so similar. Like they were so human like I was. With the little money that they had, they would spend it on, the sweets that they love. And in that moment, I understood, what it meant to be human, and that we were not different. Rich or poor, we're not different. We're actually very similar. And this lady that you see here on the left, this is Wiwit. She comes from a background where she used to be a domestic helper in Singapore. And her journey started, later on when she went to work for the French ambassador as a domestic helper as well. And she met Lina Chandra, one of my mentors. And when she met Lina, it was really interesting because she was actually at a point of disagreement, at that time with some of her employers. And Lina actually gave her the opportunity to come and manage one of her house building projects in Indonesia. And shortly afterwards, she found another opportunity to work as a teacher in this micro school. And she started as a coordinator in this school, serving the 25 children. And when I first met her, I was very inspired by her story, because she comes from a very humble background, right? Domestic helper, and then slowly to a project manager, and then slowly to a teacher. And when I first met her, I thought to myself, what was it that I could do to help her, And these were the young people who went with me. And when I met her in Indonesia the first time, she told me something that was very interesting. She said, I want to go to school. She said, I want to go to school. So, we probed a bit further and we asked her, what do you want to do in school? And she said, I want to do special needs education. And it's a nighttime degree. And it cost me about $2,000 US. And for us, $2,000 maybe not as much as how it is for her. It's about 20 million rupiah, for her in Indonesia. And the amazing thing was, I thought to myself, what is it that we can do for this woman, with the technology access we have, with the skills, the experience. And along with the young people, Jam, Yihui, and Celeste is in the audience as well, we put together a very simple IndieGoGo request to raise funds for this woman, Wiwit, that you've seen here, so that she can go to school. So IndieGoGo is a fundraising campaign online, right? And it just solicits, funds from anonymous people, friends, or anybody. But basically, you can put your story out there, and people can respond based on the requests to the fundraising effort that you need. And within 17 days, we raised $2,000. And I know $2,000 is, to us, not a lot of money, and to some, it's a lot of money. What that showed me was that when young people come together, they can do wonders. And I was so amazed because with Celeste, with Jam, with Yihui, these young people who just came together to put things together for this person, it made her going to school possible. And that for her was a huge thing. So when she received the money, she was so grateful, so grateful. And what I learned from Wiwit is that, hey, as young people, doing a little bit or a small thing that we do is enough. Is enough, and it could transform people's lives. And you don't have to do a lot. Like I didn't even kind of put down a single cent. But getting the wisdom of crowds, getting people to actually help and rally the cause and the movement, a small step in just getting started can make such a big change. So with that, there's one thing that I'll share. And, it's said in Corinthians that faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of this is love. And I truly hope that you will love yourselves, love your family, love what you do, and discover life and your passions. Thank you.